Week 7. So we got 3 more weeks left. All right. So this chapter 9, is all about Blockbuster, innovation, how innovation almost, pretty much did kill the movie movie rental place on site. How everything now is completely different with streaming and how fast the internet is now. Then I'm going to talk about we're not going to do chapter 9. I'm sorry. We're going to do chapter 10. I forgot to update that part of the slide. All right. So innovation killed Blockbuster. So there's one Blockbuster left in the whole United States. Can you tell me where that is?
Is it Alaska?
Nope, that one closed. But good guess.
Oregon?
It is Bend, Oregon. I've actually lived there for a brief time. So beautiful cherry blossom tree right in the front. All right. Quick review. So remember we talked about SWOTs, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And within those opportunities and threats, you have the PESTEL, which is the political, economical, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental. All right, so those are always a good. PESTEL is always good for the international market. So when you're going to go into a different country. And our buddy Gertz Hofstede, we talked about what management perspective to deepen knowledge and application for understanding cultures and other countries. So if you're going to go open up a branch office or open up another business in another country and you're not that familiar with the cultures and the norms of that country, his information, his website can be very, very useful. We talked about the dimensions model as opposed to what your book talks about as a distance model, the power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, pragmatism, and indulgence. So if you forget those, review those. So your book's example is the distances, the cultural distances, the administrative distances, the geographical distances, and the economic distances. And the economical distances bring us to the Big Mac economics that we talked about, the purchasing power parity. And I looked that up, and the Big Mac is still about the same price as it was 2 years ago. It's only a few pennies off. And we did the Big Mac index, which we talked about. So in the Ukraine, you can get a Big Mac for $1.64, as opposed to Switzerland, which is the highest and still is the highest, which will cost you almost $7. That doesn't include the fries and the Coke either. That's just the burger. Okay. Competing internationally, we talked about the arbitrage strategy, takes advantage of country comparative advantages, such as the low cost of labor, skilled workers, and everything that country has to offer to make it more appealing for you to do business in that country. And then lastly, we talked about some of the different tax rates in Europe and throughout the world. Tax rates are always going to be different. So if you're going into another country, you always want to keep in mind France is almost 35% as opposed to Ireland, which is 12%. So quite a bit of a difference there. So any questions about what we talked about last week? Nada? All right. So your final group project, the Cascade Ceramics Company. Beautiful picture of the Cascade Mountains in Lost Lake. Okay, so ceramics. So many of you kind of already have kind of an idea of what you're going to do for your ceramics project. Everything from dental, dishes, rods and tubes, screws, nuts, bolts, knives, which I used as an example when I talked to everybody about their project. And then pizza brick ovens, which are made out of ceramic bricks. All right, so writing an executive summary. So what is the executive summary? The executive summary is going to be the most important pages of your report because those pages will get read by everybody as opposed to most people not reading the rest of your report, especially if they're not directly involved in it. You'll have a few department heads getting their opinion, and most of the time they won't even read the whole report. They'll just read the first part of the report. It's funny. A friend of mine does some consulting work for it. Right now he's doing for Amazon, and the lady keeps sending back these little acronyms, um, TLR, and he didn't know what TLR was, and so he had to go finally look it up, and it says too long to read. So the lady was not reading his whole reports when he was sending them, so he had to just briefly make short reports. So a lot of the times these executives, they definitely won't read your report. So your 2 to 3 pages, your executive summary, you need to put the most important things in your report in that. For example, an executive will read your report and say, yes, this is good. I'm going to sign off onto it. I'm going to give it to the director of operations who's going to execute it. So you have to tell them in your 2 to 3 pages of your executive summary, your elevator pitch. So you said, what's an elevator pitch? Good question. An elevator pitch, like you go in an elevator, you're only in an elevator for a few seconds, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds to go from floor to floor. So your elevator pitch is to tell that person exactly what they need to know within 20, 30 seconds. Okay. You need to sell the plan. You're not just telling them what you're doing. You have to actually sell it to them, make it appealing, make it enticing, make them really want to buy into it. And you need to grab the reader's attention. Okay. So you can't just put, in a real monotone type of thing. Hey, this is what we're going to do. This is this and this and that, and you're going to love it. Okay. Is an executive summary necessary? Absolutely. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay. Most executives will only read the executive summary, like I said. So you don't want it to be too long to read. You don't want it to be too short that it's not going to tell the reader what they need to know about the whole plan. Okay, so writing an executive summary, it's always about the who, when, where, why, and how. The who is all the people involved. So that 2 to 3 pages, you're going to talk about the company that you're doing it for, the who. The president is the one who asked you for the report. So obviously you're going to put them in there. The who, your expertise, your group of consultants are the experts who are telling the president what they need to know and how they're going to do it. All the different ways of how and where it's going to take place and when, and all those other good things. So who, well, how, where, when. So your executive summary is going to be at least 1 page. For our purposes, you better be more than 1 page, no more than 5. So for example, if you're going to do a short report, 1 page would be fine. If you can explain everything you can do in 1 page. You don't want to go more than 5 pages because obviously they're not going to read it. Okay, so keep it as short as possible. Get to the point directly. Don't beating around the bush, so to speak, while giving all the proper information needed. So make sure the who, when, why, where, and how is there, and all the information they need to know how to get there is there. Okay. So what are the 6 steps in building your executive summary? So description of your product or service. So what are you going to do? Describe it, how you're going to do it. Your target market, make sure you put down who is the customer base, all that good stuff we've been talking about, the segmentation and all that other good things that we talked about in class in your book. The competition, Porter's 5 forces will probably come in pretty good about that, with that. And what is the competition capable of? What are you capable of with the competition and the market? A financial overview. So obviously we don't have a bunch of accounting numbers and whatnot, but the financial overview for you would be, first of all, we're not going to invest a lot of money into creating a new company or creating a new product line. So how are we going to come up with the money that we do need? Is the like, for example, I use the knife example with every single group, so you guys are familiar with that. If Caracera was to give us some money to help retool our manufacturing lines, then that would be the financial overview where the money would be coming from, or if we did it ourselves. And your team, your consulting team, what is your expertise? Why should I hire you? Why do you guys stand out above everybody else? So there's 21 consulting groups. What makes you guys the best? And then funding. Again, the financial overview, where are we going to get our money from? Okay. So 6 easy steps continue. Description of your product or service. So make sure you describe it. Not everybody probably pretty much knows what it is. But for example, some of the powder coatings that you're going to use, or some of the other things that are not general knowledge to most people, make sure you describe them, what they do, how they do it, what is the benefit of using that type of product. So why is it the best choice? Address any immediate problems. There's always going to be problems, so address those immediately. Don't ignore them, because I'm going to ask and I'm going to say, well, why didn't you address this problem? This is a very big problem within this industry and this particular product. So opportunities created. So by doing certain things, these opportunities will be created by doing by making ceramic knives. You're going to be able to, like within a month's time, be able to generate revenue. Okay. And then who do you think your customers will be? So tell me, who are the customers? You're going to do a market analysis. You're going to dissect the market. You're going to define what your product means to its customers. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So your target market, your demographics, behavioral, social economic, everything. So just like you did with your business reports, in other classes, you're going to do that kind of report with the consulting report. So describing your competition, describe the who, the when, the where, and the how, the competition. So who are going to be our biggest competitors? How are we going to have a competitive advantage over them just getting into this market? So these are all the things you're going to need to answer. How do you compare to the competition? What are we going to be able to do to compete with them? And then how are we competing? Price, quality, differentiation, all those other good things that set us apart. Walmart, obviously, they compete on price. Nordstrom's quality of service that they provide. They're not always have the best price, but they have great service and quality. A lot of their products are very high quality. And differentiation. For example, Southwest Airlines differentiates themselves from other airlines by their friendly service, by the way they board the plane, all these other different things. Okay. So like I said, with the financial overview, you're not going to spend a whole lot of time in this, but what is this product going to cost to start up? How much are we going to make? What is the profit margin going to be? Is it going to be worth it? Are we just going to barely break even the first couple of years? Or are we going to actually make a good profit? So those are the things you have to consider. If you're only breaking even or making just a small amount of profit for the first year, that's probably not a good thing, because the whole purpose of this assignment was to make revenue right away or as soon as possible. What expenditures do we need to come up with right away? Do you need to retool the whole manufacturing process, or just switch molds? For example, the blades for the turbine engines, we just switched the molds for the turbine engines and made knives instead. So they're basically just all molds. And so that was really not much of a cost to switch anything right away. So there wasn't too much of expenditure other than buying new molds. Okay, forecast, what you're going to do in the future, what you can forecast, how you're going to make money, and then future profits and losses. Okay, So your team, you're going to tell me a little bit about your team. Why are you the experts? Who are the experts in what and why and where? So each person brings something to the party. You're going to explain what each person, their strengths are that adds to your group, and who or what is behind the business idea. Okay, so tell me, why do you think this is such a great idea? You know, who in the industry and who in your group are, you know, you put two and two together, and tell me, you know, why this is such a great idea. Okay, so as I explained in the overview in the syllabus, is existing fund for this. There are some existing funds, but not a whole lot of funds. We're not going to spend millions of dollars on retooling the company to make a new product. So do we need to take a bank loan? Do we need to take the parent company to fund this new venture? Remember, the parent company is not going to fund anything unless they think it's a really, really good idea. So if it's not a good idea, the parent company probably won't fund it or spend a lot of money on it. So, and then the vendor or the customer, obviously they can also invest in some funding for this. So buy maybe new equipment or give us the money that needs to buy new molds or whatever we need to do. So that's not something that's out of the question. All right, so executive summary. Think of your executive summary as a pitch. Write it last. That's most important. Write it last. Even though it's the first thing in your report, it's the last thing you're going to write. Keep your executive summary short and distinct and to the point. Keep it simple. Prioritize sections based on importance and strength. So the most important part of your report, you want to emphasize that in your executive summary, and you want to make sure it's easy to read and easy to understand. And then you can also use it for the summary at the end of your report. Okay, not the whole thing, but you're going to summarize your executive summary. You're going to give me a summary of your executive summary. All right, and then write it last. Don't forget. Okay, so questions about the executive summary. So everybody knows how to do an awesome executive summary. All right.
Professor,
Yes.
for terms of expertise within the group, would that just be sort of our expertise in our like business majors? We could go
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So bring that in. I mean, you can even exaggerate. I will let you embellish a little bit and exaggerate, like saying so and so is an expert in marketing and digital marketing, blah blah blah. You know, if your major is marketing or accounting or what, you know, or whatever. So, and you can even embellish a little bit. So. Other questions, concerns? So everybody's going to write an awesome executive summary, right? All right. We're going to move on. All right. So chapter 10 is about innovative strategy, how Blockbuster and all the other ones, I forget the names of them now, all of the stores that you used to go to pick out a movie and or a DVD on VHS or DVD. This is my buddy over there in Bend, Oregon at the Blockbuster, and the very last one in the whole United States. So we're going to talk about innovative strategies and some of the companies that came up with these innovative strategies to pretty much revolutionize their industry. Netflix, obviously, the way we watch movies and watch our shows now. Everything is streaming. 23andMe is, well, I'll let you read about them. Anyway, Tesla and Uber, how Uber pretty much revolutionized how you catch a ride. You don't have to call a taxi cab anymore on the phone and give them an address and all that other good stuff. It's just the on your app on the Uber, the guy comes to get you. You can even see what they look like, and what kind of car they're driving and everything. I think you probably even get personal information on them too, like what their favorite food is. Okay, so who do you perceive as innovative companies? This is time for you guys to wake up and participate.
Amazon. Amazon is an innovative company.
Amazon is innovative? What's so innovative about Amazon? All they do is sell books, right?
No, they've
No?
pivoted to other products. They've become one of the biggest retail e-commerce companies in the world.
That's right. They have.
Give or take, yeah.
They are the biggest e-commerce
And also
company.
in cloud, the cloud service they will provide. I don't think anyone ever did that prior to Amazon coming up with that technology.
No. So they're innovative as to the different types of products that they offer and the way they offer them. Very good. Who else is an innovative company?
SpaceX.
Who?
SpaceX.
Maytag?
No, SpaceX.
Oh, SpaceX. Yes, SpaceX is an innovative company. What's so innovative about them?
Reusable rockets.
Reusable rockets. That's
Yeah.
pretty innovative.
Yeah, so nobody has done that before them, and now that's the big thing.
I think other companies wanted to do that. They just didn't have the technology or the know-how to do it. I think being the first to do that is not so much as much innovative as it is, well, innovative in developing the technology to do it. But I think it's been an idea that many of the other companies wanted to do. They just couldn't do it. Very good. Who else? Is Apple an innovative company? Yeah. Alibaba? They're the Chinese version of Amazon, right? IBM? They've only been around for how many years now? Well over 100 years. And they're still very innovative in technology and management. HP, they even have invent in their name, on their logo. 3M, we talked about them before, very innovative, and Amazon, very good. So the top 50 innovative companies in 2019, these are the top 50 ones. Got everything from Hilton Hotels, Volkswagen, very innovative the way they cheated the smog test, right? Some of the car companies, BMW, AT&T, Johnson & Johnson, Samsung. So don't see Walmart there. I don't know why. So 2020, the list hasn't changed much. They're still all there. McDonald's was very innovative when they came up for their breakfast all day long. Everybody said, no, that'll never work, blah, blah, blah. Become very, very, very popular. They don't have the whole menu, but they have part of the menu. Nike is still in the top of the list. Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, all still on the top of the list. All right. So innovation, the conversion of a novel concept and invention into a product, process, or business model that generates revenue and profits. Radical innovation would be like Uber and what Uber and Lyft did. Innovation that draws on a different knowledge base, technologies, or methods to deliver value in a unique way. Before, the only way to get a ride from a stranger, well, first of all, you should never do a ride with a stranger. Didn't your mom always tell you that? Never get in a car with a stranger. But the only way you could do a ride was call up a taxi cab from a phone. And usually if you didn't have a cell phone, you would have to use a payphone, which you can't find a payphone anymore because everybody has cell phones, right? So that would be a radical innovation using new technology. Innovative strategy, a strategy that introduces a fundamentally different business model than rivals. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes into blue ocean type strategy. Okay, so you've seen all this before. What does a innovation look like in a Venn diagram? So where everything intersects, that is a sweet spot. Okay, so we talked about, we haven't talked about a business canvas yet. Your book talks about a business canvas, and we'll go into more detail. This is kind of a visual aspect of what a business canvas looks like. One of them anyway. There's many different ones. Understanding business models on the business canvas, you have your value proposition, customer segments, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, key resources, activities and capabilities, partnerships, and cost structure. So when you guys are looking at different industries, these is kind of the things I want you to look at. What is the value proposition of going into that industry? When you're looking for the new products for your final group project. What are the customer segments? Looking at all the different customers, and then how are we going to sell the product? What channel are we going to use? Are we going to sell it on the internet? Are we going to open up a store? What channels are there for us to sell the products? Okay. So the value proposition, the firm seeks to solve customer problems and satisfies needs with particular unique value or value proposition. Remember, we talked about we don't want a 1/4-inch drill. We want a 1/4-inch hole. How are we going to get that? Is by getting a 1/4-inch drill. So it's not necessarily we want what we want as the end results. We got to figure out how we're going to get there to those end results. So also a value proposition. It's important to for a product to solve problem in a unique way. So for example, Zoom. How has Zoom solved a lot of problems in a unique way? So some consistent user interface with everyone. They've developed a very easy platform to use. They've also very reliable. Other than people's internet, Zoom is very, very reliable. Once you get on there, it's very easy to use. There's no particular glitches. You can use up to 500 participants can participate in a meeting, or you can have 10,000 different viewers on a meeting. And then it's easy to use, and its setup is very, very easy. So that would be a value proposition. Example would be Zoom, how they do their value proposition. Customer segments. The value propositions are designed to meet the needs of one or several customer segments. So meeting as many segments as you possibly can is always a good thing, unless you have a very particular product that you don't want to do that with. Practice of dividing a customer base into groups of individuals that are similar in specific ways relative to marking, such as age, gender, and all that. Zoom meets the customer segments of everything from grade school students, high school, college students, what we're doing right now, to personal groups, anything from, talking to grandma, or, meetings with friends, or different, organizations have meetings on Zoom also. So that's how they meet all the different customer segments. All those different customer segments needs are met. And then channels, value proposition are delivered to customer segments through communication, distribution, or sales channels. So a lot of times, different companies like Xerox, they do several different channels: business to business, business to consumer, business to government. So all those different channels they do. And also, for example, Zoom. How do customers reach on Zoom? Everything is digital. So there's many different formats, everything from a physical store and physical, like what Walmart does for distribution. All their different channels, they go through the distribution center directly to the store. Excuse me. Customer relations. So a lot of the times, how does a customer relationship are established and maintained with each customer segment? So everybody knows that the cable companies are the worst in the world when it comes to customer relations, right? They don't care about the customers. They figure they only have you for 1 or 2 years, and you're going to go to somebody else, and then you'll come back to them in 1 or 2 years again because they'll have a new special. So, which a lot of people do. They'll stay with a internet provider for 1 or 2 years, and then go to switch to somebody else because they have a better deal, because the customer relationship is horrible. They don't want to keep the customers, as opposed to what does Zoom do? Zoom builds a very reliable product where you don't have any problems. So you really don't have you don't really need a customer service department, even though they do have a very good customer service department. You don't have any problems, you're not going to be calling. So by providing excellent service to begin with, an excellent product, your customer relationships start off as being very good. All right. So revenue streams, how did the company make their money? Results from a value proposition that are successfully offered to customers through pricing strategies. Everything, depending on the type of company, the pricing strategy like Xerox can be anything, because they deal with the three biggest customers, business to business, business to consumer, and business to government. Their pricing strategies are all over the place. So the pricing strategies are going to be different depending on the customer, depending on the market, depending on the way the economy is going at the time. So their revenue streams are going to be priced differently for different types of segments. So remember that. Okay. So the revenue stream, the sources, who pays, customer segment, business to business can be named a customer. For example, when we're talking about Thumbtack, so you would think that the customer would pay, but the customer doesn't pay. The professionals pay. So they pay per every time a customer goes on and asks for a quote. So offering item service products based payment for a contract, that would be an example of what Thumbtack does, a method of capturing income, money flow in its structures, intervals, variable amounts. For example, Xerox does a lot of maintenance contracts. So they get a monthly revenue stream every month for maintenance and service. And a lot of these other streaming services do the same exact thing. They charge you monthly as opposed to one time. I always personally like to pay for my software and everything one time and don't have to worry about a monthly stream. But a lot of companies don't offer that anymore. So you can't do that. So they make it no other choice than that you have to pay monthly. That's the only way they offer their products now. Excuse me. Activities and capabilities. Value proposition are developed and delivered through key activities and capabilities. They are activities that your business is engaged in for the primary purpose of making a profit. So what your company does, Zoom, for example, what do? Their key activity is having meetings, right? That's all about having meetings. There's nothing else. Except for buying hardware. They actually advertise hardware too, which is a little bit different. Business activities include operations, marketing, production, problem solving, and administration. So the whole value chain that we talked about and the secondary, a lot of that has to do with the key activities and capabilities. So again, with the Venn diagram, right there in the middle in the sweet spot is the competitive advantage over your customers in the scope, organization, and resources. Okay. So key partnerships, some resources and activity that are critical to delivering the value proposition are outsourced to partners outside the company. So sometimes, like for example, Zoom's partnerships are with different companies that use the platform, Microsoft, Google Drive, Box, Dropbox. All of these work with Zoom and work within Zoom. So a lot of these key partners help develop a lot of these applications, and that is, not just this industry, but other industries too. For example, with making the boards and certain electronic components, other companies are key partners with Apple. Even though Apple's getting back to doing more stuff in-house, but a lot of these companies, with Dell is a perfect example, how they have key partnerships. Toyota, how they have key partnerships that we talked about a lot. Go really good. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat box. All right, then customer cost structure. How is the company set up for costs? What is it? What are the costs to do business? Elements above result in the cost structure for delivering the value proposition to the customer. The cost must be covered in order to be profitable. In order to stay in business, you must be profitable. All right, so Barnes & Noble versus Amazon, how they did in the value chain. So for example, in the beginning, Barnes & Noble, the authors would go to the publishers would go to the warehouse to the distribute the books through the warehouse and the distributors, and then that would go to the store and to the customer. Amazon, which they started out selling books, said, well, let's get rid of the distributors. You know, they're taking their profit share, and we can go directly to the consumers after we get the authors and the publishers to sign off, and we'll just get their books and send it directly to the customer. And Amazon better watch out, because the authors are going directly on the internet and going right to the customers. So as you can see, the value chain gets shorter and shorter as technology advances and gets more advanced, and authors are able to self-publish now. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about blue ocean strategy. So most people don't know what blue ocean strategy is. It is an academic thing that really doesn't travel much outside of academia. 9 out of 10 marketing professionals have never heard of blue ocean strategy. And when somebody calls and tells me they want to do my marketing for my company, I ask them what blue ocean strategy is, and they don't know. And I say, I'm sorry, you don't know the answer. I can't do business with you. So nobody knows what it means outside of academia, pretty much, except for college students who go into marketing. Yellowtail Wine uses blue ocean strategy, reinventing your product to market to another segment. This innovation position within the wine industry is perfectly reflected through the 4 Ps, which are product, price, promotion, and place. So, hey, we get a review on our marketing. So Yellowtail Wines abandoned the traditional focus on prestigious vineyards and aging. You know, this wine has been aging since 1800. It's a fine vinegar by now. So it's very wine has been very stuffy, very prestigious. It's intentionally been that way for many, many years to keep people who don't know what they're talking about away from it. So what Yellowtail did is ditch the complexity terminology found on wine bottles. For example, most of the European wines, they'll have the region that they're from. They will have a designation of the region, and they will have whether it is made primarily of a certain grape. So you have to know all these things when you're looking at the wine, and it's almost in code. So what Yellowtail did is they just got rid of it and said, this is your drinking wine. You know, this is good for all occasions. You know, you don't have to worry about having a wine faux pas when you bring this to your friends. They're not going to judge you. They made it sweet enough for the masses. They captured some of the beer drinkers and spirit drinkers market on that. And it's easy to buy. They have one red, one white. So you either have white or red, and somebody would buy, instead of grabbing one, they'll grab one of each, you know, because they don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing. And then you never know what they're going to be eating with that. So blue ocean strategy, it doesn't just create the buyer value or related cost. It actually pushes it pushes out and creates more customers. So it's creating a bigger market, and it's creating more customers. Okay, so Nintendo and Wii did this kind of the same thing with the blue ocean strategy. They couldn't go up directly against PlayStation and Xbox, as most of you know. Which is a crowded red ocean. Instead, they're able to find a new market. So what they do, they got the mom, they got the dad, they got the grandma. They put in, the non-gamers. They say they got all these people here. You know, my wife loves the bowling app. You know, you have to get that twist just right to curve the ball in there. But you know, and then they did exercise things with the market. So you have little exercise things that not only the kids want to play their games, Super Nintendo, Mario Brothers, but also with games and exercise and other things. The price point is affordable. It's appealing to the entire family, which is the whole different market. So they expanded their market value into going into different games. Cirque du Soleil, since the early 80s, the company has since gone to entertainment since early 1800s, I'm sorry. The company has since gone into entertaining 155 people over 300 cities. So what they did is the traditional circus would have the circus animals and the acts and that kind of things. So what they did is they reduced the cost and they put it more on human capital and live music and storytelling. If you've ever been to SeaWorld and watched the Circus Soleil down there, it's kind of a similar thing. All right, so questions so far, what do we have? Questions?
Professor,
Yes.
have you tried Yellowtail wine, and are you a fan?
I would never drink Yellowtail wine. I am actually kind of a wine snob.
So it would be the equivalent of the Keystone Light of the beer world?
Or PBR, yeah.
Or PBR. PBR is a little better than Keystone, but it's still terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. I think I drank some Keystone back in college. Actually, they used to have I forget the name of the beer. It's a back east beer. So what they would do is they would have a dollar night. So the beer would be $1, and it was horrible beer. Other questions?
Professor, please, can you explain the blue ocean concept again?
Blue ocean concept is basically reinventing your product to appeal to a mass market. So Blue Ocean has a site you can go on, and they show different. I showed you 3 examples. So the traditional way of wine is, people are wine snobs. So the traditional way is you have to have a certain, I love the Pinot Noirs from Oregon. They're a very good wine, but they don't, but most people say, well, the Pinot Noir in France is much, much better than the Oregon Pinot Noirs. So, you kind of get into that little debate, and, the wine snobs are kind of, they'll snub everybody. But 90% of the population don't know anything about wine, right? So how do you appeal to the masses? Well, you make a wine that people are not afraid to buy. So, basically you're not going to make a bad choice. You're going to buy either red wine or white wine. That's your 2 choices. Okay, so that appeals to a lot of people. So they're not going to be intimidated. So you start buying it, so everybody buys it. Not just the young 21-year-olds. The old people buy it too. They go to a party. You bring a bottle of wine to the party, whatnot. So never show up to a party empty-handed. So the saying goes. All right. What else?